A very good afternoon. My name is Mnashem Kahlena and welcome to ZTN News Blitz. Let's take a look at our top stories. 200 COVID-19 patients in hospital, 13 critical. Villagers resist evacuation as Tokwe Mokosi Dam spills. Chamisa calls for partial lockdown. And in sport, perfect start for Chikwende at Simba SC. Zimbabwe has 205 people in hospitals due to COVID-19, with 13 in the intensive care unit, 65 showing severe symptoms, and 127 presenting with mild to moderate symptoms as of Tuesday afternoon. At least 19 people succumbed to the virus on Wednesday, bringing the total number of fatalities to 1,122 since the onset of the pandemic in March last year. Zimbabwe's case fatality rate stands at 3.5%, with a recovery rate of 73.2%. To date, the country has recorded 32,304 cases of COVID-19, 23,687 recoveries, and 1,122 deaths. Our correspondent Mirain Singo caught up with Zimbabwe Medical Association President Dr. Francis Chirowa, who had this to say.
Difficult. I think we probably have reached the peak of the second wave. I don't think it's going higher. Looking at the trends over the last few days, the last week actually, we seem to be at the peak. It may be a sustained peak, like a plateau before it starts falling.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says Zimbabwe should be guided by science and available data to come up with effective interventions in curbing the spread of COVID-19. The global health body's country representative, Dr. Alex Gasasira, spoke to ZTN.
What we do, we look at different data. We look at the data, we share it with the Ministry of Health. We work with the Ministry of Health to look at the data about the transmissions, the new cases, the death rate, the number of cases in the hospital, the proportion of population that are complying with preventive measures. And based on this analysis, then the minister or the government will then decide, is it safe enough to lift the lockdown or to move forward with to extend it. So again, it is the figures that the government uses to take these decisions.
Still with our running story, MDC Alliance leader Nelson Chamisa has called for a partial lockdown in Zimbabwe. This, he says, will ensure the economy continues functioning. Currently, Zimbabwe is under lockdown level 3. He said this while delivering his COVID-19 address in Harare moments ago. He also called for the reduction of the cost of health services, especially for COVID-19 patients.
It is desirable and advisable to adopt other approaches to a lockdown. We could consider a partial lockdown instead of a holistic lockdown. A partial lockdown or a lockdown that is zonal or staggered, so that we do not just go into a one-size-fits-all. Lockdowns are not meant to be permanent solutions or a one-size-fits-all. There is need to create a lockdown exit strategy, but also a lockdown strategy that is viable and that is peculiar to our own circumstances.
Some villages settled downstream of Zimbabwe's largest inland water body, Tokwe Mokosi Dam, are resisting evacuation and risk being swept away by floods. The dam reached 100% capacity and started spilling on Saturday, discharging 20 megalitres of water per second. Government is still negotiating with the villagers. Department of Civil Protection Director Nathan Komo told ZTN that some of the villagers were proposing to move in with their relatives who stay on high ground.
Who are in the Tokwe Mokosi Dam basin, the 210, they've opted to stay with their relatives who are on higher ground, basically for two reasons. They need to look after their livestock. They also need to look after their crops in the fields. So the push factor is their animals and the crops. They cannot leave them. So we said it's fine. We were supposed to move 210, but they opted for a local solution.
Zimbabwe's 2020 to 2021 wheat deliveries have almost tripled when compared to the same period last year. So far, 160,000 metric tons have been delivered compared to 64,000 metric tons in 2020. However, this is not the case with maize, which has declined from 261,000 metric tons to 153,000 metric tons during the same period in 2020. I spoke to the Grain Marketing Board Chief Executive Rocky Mutena, who say traditional grains output has also risen.
We received about 153,000 metric tons. Sometime last year, we had received 261,000 metric tons. On wheat this year, we received 160,000 metric tons. Sometime last year, we had received 63,736 metric tons. Traditional grains, this year we received 14,000 metric tons, and same time last year we had received 7,500.
Now, $1 billion United States dollars is needed to fix roads in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. With the roads already in a sorry state, the rains have made the situation worse. They are just simply impassable. City fathers and the National Road Administration are nowhere close to agreeing on what to do with the roads. Acting City of Harare Council spokesperson Innocent Ruende claims Zinara is responsible for the management, maintenance and development of Zimbabwe's national road network.
2021 will set aside about 700 million to fix our roads, and we've also requested 4.2 billion from Zinara, which is collecting vehicle licensing, but they've promised us around 450 million, which is a far cry from our requirement. So what we are doing is we are still engaging Zinara, because they are also saying that they do not have the funds. So we are also engaging some partners in a bid to fix our roads. I would say very soon, as long as the funds are available, start fixing our roads.
Zinara, on the other hand, says council must be innovative.
Secondly, yes, it's true that the money that we are getting right now is not enough to refurbish our road network. The charges that we are, the toll tariffs and vehicle licensing, some of them have now become sub-economic to sustain the budget that we are receiving from road authorities. So, as a way of advice to local authorities, to road authorities, we are simply saying that they should not solely rely on disbursements that come from Zinara.
Residents who are the most affected blame council and insist that city fathers must not rely on Zinara. Harare Residents Trust Director Precious Shumba spoke to my colleague Takuchi Hambakwe.
Finding blame and trying to apportion blame to central government or Zinara will not change the situation. The reality is that when they budget, they must budget with what they have direct control, not what is under the control of Zinara, because Zinara has its own competing roads to address, and so they cannot pretend that they don't know that. City of Harare is hiding behind a finger. They have the City Park. City Park is raising a lot of money. But where is all that money going? We are seeing the CBD roads are heavily damaged, yet they have city parking, which is collecting thousands of dollars a day.
In regional news, South Africa's Constitutional Court has ruled that former President Jacob Zuma has to appear and testify before the Zondo Commission. Zuma has to obey all summons. The court ruled that Zuma's conduct was in breach of the Constitution. Moving on, South Africa will on Monday receive 1 million COVID-19 vaccine doses from India as it battles a new mutation of the virus. Health Minister Zweli Mkhize said the AstraZeneca doses would undergo quality assurance tests on arrival. The country procured 1.5 million vaccine doses for January and February, with an additional 20 million doses expected in June. In international news, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced a delay to the reopening of schools in England until at least March 8. The Prime Minister had planned to reopen schools after the February half-term, but high infection rates and uncertainty over the vaccine's ability to prevent the spread of the coronavirus mean the date has been pushed back.
Our aim will be to set out a gradual and phased approach towards easing the restrictions in a sustainable way, guided by the principles we've observed throughout the pandemic, beginning with the most important principle of all, that reopening schools must be our national priority. And the first sign of normality beginning to return should be pupils going back to their classrooms. I know how parents and teachers need as much certainty as possible, including 2 weeks' notice of the return of face-to-face teaching. So I must inform the House that for the reasons I have outlined, it will not be possible to reopen schools immediately after the February half-term.
In other news, United States climate envoy John Kerry says the UN climate summit set for the UK this November is the last best chance to avert the worst environmental consequences for the world. He said years were lost on the climate issue under President Donald Trump. Kerry spoke as President Joe Biden signed executive orders to address climate change. Now let's take a look at the world of sport, where Zimbabwe cricket national teams have been cleared to resume activities. The men's team is set to play Afghanistan in India or the UAE next month, while the women's team hosts Pakistan in February. We now cross over to Brighton Jawi in the ZTN newsroom for more on the story. Jawi, this must be exciting news for the cricket fans.
Thank you. Yes, exciting times indeed for the fans and the players as well. As you know, Zimbabwe hasn't been active for quite some time because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Other countries have been playing. India recently recorded a historic win in Australia. England told Sri Lanka, and currently South Africa are playing Pakistan. Ireland are playing Afghanistan. So other countries are playing. Even the Pakistan women are also playing South Africa. So it's good for Zimbabwe to catch up with others on the international calendar.
So do you think Zimbabwe will be ready, considering that their opponents have been active?
To be honest, I don't think Zimbabwe will be ready for these games. It will take something, a huge effort for them to catch up with these teams. Afghanistan are currently playing Ireland. They've got some of their best players. They've been playing in the Big Bash. Zimbabwe last played in November when they toured Pakistan. So it's going to take effort. It can happen, but it's going to take effort for them to maybe win the 2 tests and the 3 T20s. For the women, it has been 2 years since they last played. Pakistan are playing in South Africa right now, so the gap is just too much. But you never know in sports. But the reality is Zimbabwe, you've got so much to do.
Former FC Platinum forward Perfect Chikwenda's first goal for Simba SC of Tanzania against Al Hilal could be an indication that he is destined for greater heights. Simba SC were 4-1 winners over the Sudanese Giants in the CAF Champions League group match yesterday. Chikwenda impressed the Tanzanian side when they knocked out FC Platinum. COSAFA will be backing Patrice Motsepe for the CAF presidency in March. The regional bloc announced their position today, saying the 14 members reached the decision at the COSAFA Executive Committee meeting held yesterday. In 2017, COSAFA was the first bloc to endorse eventual winner Ahmed from Madagascar. Now finally, Liverpool are on a run of 6 successive victories against Tottenham in all competitions and have lost only once in the past 18 meetings. Will Jose Mourinho bring that dominance to an end tonight? Jose Mourinho is unbeaten in all 6 of his Premier League home matches as a manager against any of the reigning champions. And the fact that the Reds are yet to score a league goal in 2021 makes tonight's clash even more exciting. We'll see how that one goes. Well, that's all we had for you this afternoon. Thank you for watching.